Welcome to another CBA Level 3 coaching session. This session will focus on the beveled scroll, and it is a standalone session, although you may find it useful to have watched the blown over beveled leaf scroll prior to coming to this one. There are two C scrolls contained within the grille. Both C scrolls have beveled end scrolls. That means, just as we did with the blown over beveled leaf scroll and the water leaf, we need to know how much material is needed to make a single end. I'm using a length of 3/4 inch by 1/4 inch, 20mm by 6, and I've placed a centre punch mark about 4 inches or 100mm from the end of the bar. After you've drawn down the taper for the scroll, you can measure the remaining stock and calculate how much material was needed to form the taper. Taper is a compound taper in that it tapers in both directions, and the top is not flat but slightly curved. My taper, shown above, is measures approximately 2 3/4 inches or 70mm or so. After you've completed the taper, I make my stock calculations for how long of a bar is needed for the C scroll. I don't need to cut the scroll material from the parent bar yet, but I do need to know how much material I need, and I need to make a mark in the place for the cut, and perhaps equally as important, in the middle of the scroll. It's nice to know where you have to stop scrolling in one direction and start in the other. With the end of the scroll facing your hammer hand, and that's important, that's what the arrow's there for. I'm right-handed, so that's pointing to my right. Lay the scroll flat on the anvil and lift up slightly on the scroll as you tap the tip of the scroll down with your hammer. The idea is to place the tip of the scroll slightly out of plane with the remainder of the scroll, so that you can sweeten the curl of the tip with your hammer in a moment. If you went wrong with the placement of the scroll initially, i.e. not placing it towards your hammer, you won't be able to reach the tip of the scroll easily. Bring the tip of the scroll back into plane, and then begin to bevel both edges of the scroll, just as you did with the blown over beveled leaf scroll. I feather out to the sides at about the same time as I reach the end of the bend. The scroll is turned in much the same way as the blown over beveled leaf scroll, only you want to start turning from the very end rather than just back a little bit. Keep the centre line of the scroll material perpendicular to the centre line of the bick, or your pivot point if you're not using the bick. I'm showing working at the bick, but if it wasn't for its sharp edge, I could also do the work at the heel of the anvil. It's the clearance that we need for that scroll turning under the pivot point. It's not the curve of the bick. Working over a purpose-built hardy tool, such as something similar to the offset crimping stake, would also work. If you had a few scrolls to make, I would make the tool. I might be tempted to add a little more bend to the very tip of this scroll, the first 1/4 inch or so. And if you notice, I have a slight flat spot just below the top right corner. When complete, the scroll should look like a snub-ended scroll would fit into the negative space. The initial on-edge bend of the scroll dictated the look of the final outcome. That's the end of this particular coaching session. I'll catch you on the next one.